All right, everyone, we should be live. We will make sure that is actually the case, as always. Wednesday Live, Lauren Boebert, Dutch Farmers, California Gun Leak, and potentially the EPA SCOTUS decision. I am watching the SCOTUS live blog right now. Let me make sure that everything's working over here. This is important. In about 3.5 minutes, their stream will start. We won't begin getting docket decisions probably for some time thereafter, but I do have them on. I will be referring to that. I wanted to be the first one to break through on YouTube with regards to the potential EPA decision. It's likely to come today. I can't imagine that they're going to put it off to a future date. I think, in fact, today may be the last day. Let me look this up really quickly. Supreme Court docket. Is today the last opinion day? Let me see. Yeah, climate change and immigration are expected today. Could Supreme Court justices be impeached if they lied under oath? Well, if you are a lawyer, you know how to use weasel words, which means that you can't be impeached for lying under oath because you never actually said what they think you said. I believe that today is the last opinion day, so we're probably going to be getting the EPA decision. That's a big one. That was one of the major cases. It's almost as major as Roe. Immigration, we'll see what they do. I don't have any actual predictions for the EPA case. I can see it going either way. Gorsuch, sometimes on corporate issues, which is basically what this boils down to, sometimes he's sided with the liberals, actually, which is funny. Amusing. Roberts as well. So we'll see what happens. My hope is the EPA gets widely defanged. Steady Eddie 1983 left. Roe v. Wade has 49 years of precedence. It shouldn't be overturned. Also left. Who the hell cares about 200 plus years of constitutional precedence? Yeah, there's a double standard. Of course, you got to understand the double standard exists on the right as well. Just to be entirely honest. Yeah, we're live on Rumble. Oh, yeah, just a sec here. Let me make sure everything is working properly. We got some Rumble rants. MAGA Star, yes, Styx finally broke 92,000 subscribers. That is on Rumble. Yes, indeed, you should join me on that platform. Bump 2455. Just think, if YouTube hadn't shadow banned him, he'd have well over 1 million subscribers there. I started filling him when he had about 25,000 subs on YouTube and seen him grow so fast. Then it just stopped, I'm assuming he means. Yes, YouTube has shadow banned me, but it's done so passively. The problem with YouTube is that it hides you behind priority content. So if you're talking about anything meaningful, so it's not makeup tutorials or something like that, there are a bunch of other channels that are given automatic priority. If you're talking about some current issue, especially if you happen to do news and analysis, if you're talking about any current issue, other people have videos. And before, it partially relied upon subscriber base, partially on engagement. That is in the first hour or so. You know, you've got more likes than another person, so you're higher than them. It no longer does that. Now CNN, Fox, and all of these other moron legacy outlets are automatically ahead of you. And when people watch your content at all, that's what's going to be recommended to them. So yes, I fight with one arm tied behind my back and I'm still winning. And it'll fucking keep that way. Michael Greco, I've heard you talk about memetics having to do with seeming coincidences in time that may not be coincidences. Would you consider this similar to Carl Jung's synchronicity? Yes, to an extent. Absolutely. Jung, the more wise takeoff of the Freud sort of school of psychology, among other things. Anyway, we've got a lot to cover here. Just a minute. The live blogging is going to be coming in live, literally, from the SCOTUS blog. I will be paying attention to that off to the side. They have not actually enabled their live chat yet. Okay. Well, they'll go live in the next few minutes. We do have other news topics to cover, though, and then we can just rant if we want to. First and foremost, we have the Lauren Boebert win in Colorado. She won almost 65 to 35 against Corman, her opponent. She won more votes than both her opponent and the front-running Democrat in their primaries separately combined, and almost as many as them plus the second-place Democratic finisher. Now, I put a supercut of some people, leftoids. They don't like Lauren Boebert. They call her basically, well, she's the second worst next to Trump himself. Oh my God, she's an evangelical, she's extremist, she's racist, she's a horrible person. By the way, she worked as a prostitute and fucked Ted Cruz, which never happened. That is defamation. She's already suing, I believe, for that. They tried everything that they could to stop her, and they failed miserably. And what I analyzed this morning is that I see this as a bellwether of the upcoming midterms, number one, and the 24 election, number two. Lauren Boebert is very closely tied to Trump, to MAGA. She's considered extreme, et cetera, et cetera. DeSantis is sort of like Corman in this race. Trump is sort of like Bobert. I mean, I don't want to denigrate from her win because it is a significant win. It was by an unexpectedly large portion, so congrats to her. Think what you will about her religious views. Of course, I'm not a religious person, but she did deserve to win. What it really is a microcosm of the political climate. We've been told, especially in the wake of Roe v. Wade, that the MAGA Republicans are going to get crippled. Instead, they're winning by higher than expected margins. What I predicted is coming true, which is that the in-party support is much higher now for those individuals. Evangelical voters, far-right, hard-right voters, they're pouring out in droves. On the other side, you're scratching your head because you're looking at the number of Democrats that voted at all, in a four-person race, by the way, in this particular primary. And if you put all of their votes together, it's about the same as the number of votes that just Boebert got in her race, despite the fact that some of those Democrats were openly attempting to subvert the vote by getting people to register as Republicans to vote for Corman, because they thought he'd be easier to beat. It's not because, well, we need to restore our democracy. Well, we need to defend the republic. No. You're all partisans. You want to win. The only reason you're doing that is because you want to win. And you know that Corman would be weaker because he's more centrist. And if Bobert weren't there, you'd be calling him the devil. You'd be calling him far right, a terrorist, an apologist for evil, and so forth. We've seen this before. We've seen this for fucking decades, and nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares about your insults. If you call someone racist, it generally means that they're absolutely not, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. Capitalist pig. What's the EPA case about, Sticks? It is essentially a case with regards to the scope of the EPA's broad legal authority with regards to regulations. The daughter up there is having a little bit of a problem. She's with her mother, so it's okay. Babies cry, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Parlock 480. If the U.S. enters an all-out civil war and has to withdraw from the world stage, what is likely to happen? Completely rhetorical, because it won't happen. There will be no civil war. Who's going to wage it? The people with no guns who hate guns? I don't think so. Aaron Bennett, the leak of CCL holders list was most definitely deliberate. I agree, by the way. We will be talking about that. That they dare call this a data breach was just damage control for this evil decision. Yeah, I agree with you on this one. Westfield 90, that lying January 6th lady lied about Trump taking over the limo but now lied about writing a note which was written by Trump's lawyer. Such a sham. Yes, the January 6th committee is having some issues in the last 24 hours. We're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. So yes, point number one, Lauren Boebert not only won, but won by a significant margin. It wasn't even close. It was higher than expected. MAGA is definitely still in business. If anything, it appears to have grown based on this. This was being held up by multiple leftoids as a bellwether race. They're saying, well, if Lauren Boebert loses, it's evidence that Trump no longer has muster within the party. People want the sensible alternative, the one that the media doesn't dogpile quite so much. Let's put the genie back in the bottle and get rid of these evil extremists that actually do what they're going to say that they want to do. And it didn't work. Who would have thunk it? Sparky, Clank Revolution, all hail fearless leader Sticks. Yeah, the only thing I'm trying to lead is myself. Yeah, the baby's having a little bit of an issue. I think she might be hungry, actually. Babies have several moods: grumpy, hungry, grumpy because they're too sleepy, grumpy because they poop themselves. Yeah, that's basically it, actually. And then they get giggly once in a while for short periods of time. By the way, she has gotten to the point where she can actually sleep through most of the night, so that's why I don't look all like fucked up, even though I take the night shift. Stephen 13, what if a majority of the U.S. population falls for the DNC propaganda, thus making winning in elections impossible? Hypothetical scenario, unlikely. No, they're not going to fall for the propaganda. They're going to look in their wallet, see less money in there than they saw a couple of years ago, and then they'll make their decision. Really, it is the economy. And that's going to be the main game. Westfield 90, Trump was 12-0 last night. Yes, Trump, his endorsed candidates, whether incumbent or not, kicked ass, including Bobert. I think she's the main lightning rod for the criticism. She was the one spoken of the most by some of the leftoids. I bet that they wish they hadn't made their tweets talking about that. Oopsie poopsie. Lev Polyakov, good morning, Sticks. You should try feeding your cat shrimp if you haven't yet. My cat Steve loves them. They will not eat any human food, with the exception of Farah occasionally licking pesto. And she can't have that much because it has garlic in it, so she can only have a very small amount, like a couple of licks. Astral, ballpark estimate on how many times Biden has soiled his pants since he took office. I'd say 12 would be the over and under. You know, you get to that age, you never trust a fart, I suppose. So yeah, Bobert won. That is significant. I already analyzed it this morning, though, so we won't get any further into it. Let me check the SCOTUS blog here. Let's see. Do we have any decisions? I don't think so yet. I think we have to wait another 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, people are just sort of reading on it. Prediction, Taurus will be Breyer's last opinion. Yeah, Breyer's leaving, being replaced by Ketanji, who basically is Breyer, only she's younger, female and black, and this is a big qualification, according to the Joe Biden administration. Very important. We need to be diverse. Not diversity of opinion, though, because the opinions are literally the same. We're also going to talk about the Dutch farmers right now. Now, I would like to preface this by saying something. I generally do not weigh in on Dutch politics. I'm technically a guest in the country. I'm a resident, but I'm not a citizen. And so generally speaking, I'm reluctant to weigh in on political issues. But I've got so many fucking people telling me that I should weigh in, number one, and many of them Dutch, actually, in origin. And it is so important that I figured that I would cover this in the context of this video. Right now, for those of you not aware, there is a major protest going on all around the Netherlands, in which farmers are using their tractors, their trucks, etc. They're spraying liquid manure on government buildings. They're stopping up police departments. There's a link in the description. Dutch police detained protesting farmers, but were forced to let them go. The police station is completely blocked by tractors, which simply force the police to obey the people. Very stereotypically Dutch, by the way. They're dumping hay bales on the highways and spraying things with shit and doing impromptu gatherings on highways, basically, with loudspeakers. And I support them. And I'll tell you why, as someone who is not born in the Netherlands, as someone who is not a Dutch citizen. I can sympathize with you, and I'll tell you why. This is the same fucking horseshit that happens in my home state of Vermont. When they're telling farmers that they need to relinquish vast tracts of land, you get a bunch of land, you're supposed to cut down on the amount of farming that you're doing. Less animals, less crops, etc. Number one, it ruins your bottom line at an inflationary time when you need to make more money anyway. That's number one. They're prefacing it on environmentalism. They're saying, well, in order to abide by climate change standards, we need to reduce the nitrogen runoff from your farms. Those farms absorb CO2 because they're raising plants. Now, some of them raise animals as well, but there are a lot of plants there, and it's not just tulip bulbs. You go around the rural Netherlands sometime and you'll see something a little bit different from Amsterdam. They're doing the same fucking shit in the state of Vermont, in the Champlain Valley. For years and years, the Montpelier politicians there have rambled and raved about emissions and runoff and talking about how algal blooms are being caused in Lake Champlain because people are farming too much. We need better methodology. We need less farms. That has been stated. You need to downsize. You know, the fact that you can't make ends meet and make any money at farming, who gives a shit? You know, we want Bill Gates to be doing it out in the Midwest, basically. The whole idea is to globalize and corporatize farming and kick the small farmers off their land. In the concept of the Netherlands, it's for a slightly different reason. In the state of Vermont, they want them to shrink up because it brings in tourist revenue. It doesn't matter if the farm is 2 acres or 20 acres. Tourists are oblivious to how a working farm actually operates unless it's a dude ranch sort of thing. And so what they want is for farms to downsize. So they don't need to use a lot of fertilizer or anything like that. It doesn't matter if they plant anything at all. It devolves into nothing more than a cheese stand, a wine tasting shack, and a goddamn petting zoo. This is sort of like the farm Billings Farm in Woodstock, Vermont, which is where I was raised as a small child. They've got crops. I think they sell them, although I'm not 100% sure. Everything else is artisanal and curated and museum-like. They've got an entire big-ass barn, like a really big barn. All it is a museum of old like farming equipment and shit like that. The whole farmhouse is. They've got like a blacksmith, but the blacksmith doesn't make nails and then sell them by the bag. The blacksmith just sits there hammering away at whatever the hell he wants, and then people go and watch him, and they pay money to do so. And they've got ice cream and dandelion salad, which actually is good, I will admit, and stuff like that. And it's very rustic and it's very fun. It's great. You know, the kids can go and they can pet the baby goats and stuff like that. They can see the baby cows, and it's fun. It's a learning experience. There's nothing wrong with that. But they want to transfer all of the Vermont farms into the same thing. They want half as many farms, even though you've already deprecated the farmers so much. Most of them have already moved away. They sold out. In the Netherlands, it's for a slightly different reason. I'll tell you what's happening. I can see it plain as day. What the Dutch government wants is for farmers near urban areas whose land is worth more, because it's near an urban area, to sell. They want them to get out of the business. Well, you're going to have to lose 1/3 of your farm output. Well, you know, you can't make ends meet. But your land has been evaluated at a very, very high price. What'll happen is the government will threaten them. Here's what'll happen. Government threatens them, tells them you have to downsize. You're not allowed to have 30 acres. You can only farm 20 acres. The other 10, who knows what they do with it. I guess it turns into a park or something. Or you can sell the entire farm to a developing firm, and they'll give you definitely more than your land is worth. And your land is already worth quite a bit of money. What does the Netherlands have right now? It has a massive housing shortage. There's the problem. By the way, why is this housing shortage a thing? Let us ask. Why would there be a shortage of housing in a country that's only twice the size of my home state, by the way, with millions of people in it? Well, that's right. They keep making medium density housing, like arguably what I'm living in right now, with little lots or no land, but it's not a tenement. It's not, commie block apartment. And they insist upon making it that way because of tourist revenue. They want the margins of all the cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Den Haag, and so forth, Utrecht, Enschede probably here, and all of these other cities. They want to gobble up those margins by paying the farmers a bit over what the land is worth, chase them off their land, and make medium density suburbs. That's what they want. They want more tax revenue. Which gets you more tax revenue? 20 acres of medium density with hundreds of people living there, or one fucking farm family growing turnips? Which one makes you more money? See, the problem is it's very short-sighted. It helps your GDP in the meantime, and it's certainly you're not food sufficient anyway, so, Ruta and people like that don't give a shit. In the long term, it'll bankrupt the Netherlands. I hate to tell you, it's like another tulip sort of thing. Well, what'll end up happening is your output falls, At some point, the banking industry that is based in Amsterdam probably withers away anyway. And you're going to end up in the bad times like the 70s or the 80s again. Those weren't, I believe, great times for the Netherlands. A little bit seedy is how it was looked at. You'll still have your tourism and so forth, but then you'll have a bunch of empty houses. Houses that, by the way, still have runoff. What do you think happens? If I fertilize the garden, is there not nitrate runoff? How is that different than if there was a farm here? The farm probably has less overall. Oh, God, suburbanites, they pump everything full of fucking pesticides all day. So I support the farmers in the Netherlands. You're being chased off your land effectively because the Dutch government wants to subdevelop areas around the larger cities and towns in the Netherlands. They want hundreds of thousands of new housing units because they are reluctant to build the high-density housing that people don't want. The bankers moving in and the yuppies and stuff, they're not going to live in that shit. They don't want to live in a tenement in the Balmer or something like that. I've been here long enough to sort of understand the way things work. I hate to tell you this, but it's remarkably similar to the way things work in my home state. And that's not a good way to go. So if the Dutch farmers want to spray the mayor's house or the governor's mansion or whatever with horse manure, if they want to dump bales in the middle of the road and they get called literally terrorists by the Dutch government, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. They're not being terrorists. Who are they terrorizing? The police occasionally. Other than that, nobody else seems to oppose them. They seem to support them. We've got update from SCOTUS blog. Hearing rumor that WV versus EPA will be much more narrow than folks are anticipating. That's possible. Yeah, I think a wide, to be clear, a wide justification in favor of WV as opposed to the EPA means that the EPA is defanged. I do predict that it will be more narrow. But that being said, I don't know that they'll even rule in favor against the EPA. So we'll definitely have to see. We have a lot of super chats here while we wait. We have Stephen13. Elections get me worried. There are so many people who know the Dems are bad, but vote for them anyway. I hope DeSantis wins and keeps my home Florida free. DeSantis will continue being governor of Florida. He has no competition. He will win. What's his name? Christ there. He has no chance. That will not happen. Green Top LLC. Hey, Sticks. Good news on Machine Shop. Met with someone who needs a part for production to supply 75 manufacturing facilities. Investment is paying off. Excellent. Get that money. Get them Benji Greens. Sudaranya. Do you know how to use your saber or swords? Yeah, I know how to chop a person's hand off if I need to. Gorgeous Mayhem. I know it's probably very unlikely that Lee Zeldin becomes governor of New York, but can you imagine the salt if he did? He won his primary last night. No, the gubernatorial slot there will stay far left, unfortunately. And New York will continue being a shithole as the result of this. Westfield 90. Yelp selling offices in several cities and letting their 4,000 employees work from home permanently. You think this will further decay largely blue cities? Yeah, think of it this way. You can live in the city and pay $5,000 a month for a micro apartment. Or you can move 100 miles away because you're a remote worker and you can pay half of that and live in a McMansion. So which one do you choose? Unless you're a materialist and you're stupid, you'll choose the latter. Sparky, during the Carter admin, there was a tractorcade to DC. Yeah, I wasn't alive then, so I never got to see it, sadly. You have a lot of that here in the Netherlands. The dastardly Dutchman. Government buildings being sprayed with number 2 might improve the smell. Yeah, I think it'd be nice if someone did that in DC as well. Aaron Bennett. The CCL holder list leak will be a class action lawsuit. A lawyer's wet dream come true. Oh, yes, we will be covering that. Sparky. Nebraska doesn't allow big corporate farms. Yeah, well, I think most states do. That's the problem. Insomnia. Hey, Sticks, what's your opinion of Black Pete, Zwarte Piet, friend of St. Nicholas in Holland? Controversial? No, it's not. I actually made a video on the subject. That was the last time a couple years ago that I even weighed in on Dutch issues. Because, again, I'm a resident, not a citizen, so it's not really my purview. Zwarte Piet effectively is nothing more than a transmogrification of typical European tales of what you would consider imps and things like that. I do not believe it has to do with a Moroccan climbing down the chimney or some insane shit like that. It is not a human entity at all. So to call it blackface and minstrelsy is clearly wrong. What I would call a pass off of minstrelsy is drag queens. That would be more close to the mark than saying Zwart Piet is problematic. I think it's a good tradition, and the people of the Netherlands should defend their traditions. Elizabeth Lombard, Donald Trump, hashtag Kingmaker. Thank you, Sticks. Yes, indeed. He's winning bigly over the last 24 hours. There are a lot of very salty leftoids out there. Gonfall. I laughed so hard at the testimony today. There's no evidence. It's so clear. Evidence. So I heard Trump talking about a possible group moving in on the Capitol. Media. Evidence Trump wanted to lead the group into the Capitol. Rock Sicklenhammer 999. I swear I hear parrots in the background of your videos sometimes. Squawk. No, I fed the birds earlier. There's multiple, I don't know, grackles or some shit out there. I don't know what kind of birds. Robert Jenkins. Cheers from Niagara Falls, New York. Next week, the fam will be in North Hero, Vermont. Lake Champlain rules. Yeah, go and get Champ. Stuff him. Put him on display. Sparky, property tax is a tool to kill family land ownership. Yes, property taxes should be abolished. It is effectively rent to the government. It prevents you from properly owning land at all. Adam THM, hey Sticks, Spain's inflation hit 10% today and it shocked experts. Is this the foreshadowing of America's up-and-coming numbers? Yeah, as goes one nation, the tendency is the others go in the same direction. If their inflation has skyrocketed suddenly, then I would expect the U.S. to follow suit, yeah. The Grizzly, Wolfman, Dracula, or Frankenstein? I will take Dracula. Westfield 90, if abortion's not going away and blue states are happy to abort, doesn't it mean next gen will have less purple-haired TikTok nuts? How is this bad? Well, I guess they would have more because, you know, the more poor leftoids, they can't travel out of state to get an abortion. Of course, I am pro-choice, so... but be that as it may, I don't think that it really changes demographics or something. Simple Logic 90, seeing Brooklyn Dad defiant. Meltdown was funny. Yeah, he went nuts. He was like, oh shit, fuck. Sparky, does Walter Peck from Ghostbusters run the EPA? I don't exactly know who that is. Not a big fan of the Ghostbusters. Joseph Rowland sent $10. No comment, thank you. Crazy Loon, hail, brother clankers. Osu for Molader. Sticks needs to spend Superchat euros on a can of paint for that wall behind him, so I will stop cleaning my phone screen. I had the sword hanging there, but then the hangers broke, and now there's discoloration. So, fuck it. Graf von Tyrol. I just don't get how people would believe Amber Heard's 2.0 is outrageous BS even before SS offers to testify against her. Yeah, we probably should talk briefly while we're waiting for the SCOTUS. I've got to refresh that. I think it might have frozen, actually. Did it? Yeah, okay. I'll go through that in a minute. We also probably should talk about the January 6th testimony we got the other day because it's been debased. For instance, the letter that was supposedly sent by one individual was countermanded by one of the lawyers present who actually wrote it. So there's perjury involved, literally perjury. And then we found out that the agent that was in the presidential SUV when Trump supposedly tried to strangle the driver and grab the wheel and said, fucking take me to the White House. I'm the goddamn president. That never happened. And he's willing to testify under oath that it never happened. It will never actually be testified to, though, because the January 6th Commission is not meant to be a trial. It is a partisan sham. And people are clearly ignoring it. Look at the goddamn polling. Look at the results in the primaries from the other day. People are completely tuning it out, but the Democrats don't have anything to run on. They can't even run on Roe. They've overstretched so far. That clearly isn't affecting polling. The Rasmussen run-up poll afterwards shows no change in the congressional ballot. And the Marist poll that was +5 anyway only shows a 2-point swing. And of course, that can be statistical noise. I have no doubt at this point that the Republicans are going to absolutely crush it in the midterms. Stephen Nizek, as Beanie Man IRL said, the left don't need offspring. They'll just left wash yours. That's why people should homeschool more. 338-327-950-288. Love the Maxwell video. Hope she gets the deluxe Epstein treatment. Yeah, the problem is she'll probably get out early. Compassionate release, good behavior, etc. She'll be back out there. Not that she cares. She's in a women's prison and she's a lesbian. So, what the hell does she care? She gets her 3 hots in a cot. She gets, the walk around the garden all day, do whatever she wants. And she can sexually assault people. And the guards will help her, probably. Orwell's Goon. Leftoids need to choose. Either 2 scoops, Drumfler is too feeble to walk down a ramp or drink water without 2 hands, or he strong-arms Secret Service agents to the beast and goes full Dale Earnhardt. Yeah, that's interesting. Supposedly Donald Trump is a very strong man with 4-foot-long arms, by the way, to reach the partition. And he tries to strangle his own guards on a regular basis. But he's also pathetic, and he's a baby, and he rolls over and whines and cries and poops himself. This is the untenable reality of the leftoids. The Grizzly, which is most likely, Biden, Kamala, or Hillary? I would argue Kamala is most likely, actually. Biden is too old and feeble. And Hillary, she's been rejected twice for a reason. I don't think anyone's itching to have her back. Kamala would lose, but I think of the 3, she's the most likely to be the Dem candidate. There are some others. Joe Kennedy could try mounting a run on the I told you that this was a bad idea platform. That would be more capable of winning, actually. Buttigieg could run. He's stayed basically out of the fray for the most part. Westfield 90. FDA approved Omicron vax yesterday, 19.2. Watched the stream and was shocked how geriatric, out of touch, and science disinterested these people were. Well, the geriatric part they can't help, because you got to realize you're probably 40 before you become a scientist of any note. Let's check the SCOTUS blog here. Come on, give me a decision. We should be getting them any minute now. Hashtag waiting for Amy. Prediction, Kavanaugh, Taurus, head honcho has WV today, Gorsuch has Castro, Breyer has Biden versus Texas, the latter 2 tomorrow or Friday. Oh, they're doing it Friday too? I hope they don't open up a new opinion day. Just do them all today. How much work do you people do? Your entire job is standing around talking to people. You listen to people, you pretend to be interested beyond politics, by the way, and then you confer with one another while drinking and smoking heavily. That's basically what SCOTUS does. Yeah, we're going to be getting decisions probably in the next couple of minutes. Tree Fitty says SCOTUS strikes down Texas today. And remember that I'm going to have to go through the decisions at least briefly, actually look at the dockets that are posted in order to give an opinion. So there will be a little bit of, well, not downtime, but quiet time. We could use more of this. Uncultured Barbarian. I see Biden joked about not leaving Spain. I'd do a happy dance like Bruce Willis in The Last Boy Scout if he did. I think you speak for most Americans. Kevin Street, this makes the Ultramaga crowd like Trump even more. I can't wait to see the leftists continue to cope and seethe. Clank. Aquafan, opinions post every 10 minutes starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, which I believe is literally now, more or less. I don't do time zones. Not a banned account. Will U.S. petrol reach $10 average a gallon or $12? I have no clue what it'll actually peak at, but whatever it is, it's already in the very not good territory. People are pissing through their savings. Anyway, I think we've got, we've got one more. So we talked about the Dutch farmer protest, and we talked about Bobert, etc. We have one more here before we await the EPA decision, which is massive trove of gun owners' private information leaked by California Attorney General. Yes, you heard that right. California gun owners have been put at risk by the Attorney General's office after a new dashboard leaked their personal information. The California Department of Justice's 2022 Firearms Dashboard portal went live on Monday with publicly accessible files that include identifying information for those who have concealed carry permits. The leaked information includes the person's full name, home address, date of birth, and date their permit was issued. The data also shows the type of permit issued, indicating if the permit holder is a member of law enforcement or a judge. So they're held to different standards. They're allowed to carry a firearm wherever they want, but California hates everyone else. The Reload reviewed a copy of the Los Angeles County database and found 244 judge permits listed in the database. The files include the home addresses, full names, and date of birth for all of them. This is, by the way, totally accidental that this happened, just to be clear. It's a violation of the Fourth and Second Amendments, and they're getting sued basically now. The same was true for 7 custodial officers, 63 people with a place of employment permit, and 420 reserve officers. 2,891 people in LA County with standard licenses also had their information compromised by the leak, though the database appears to include some duplicate entries as well. So 2,500, 2,600, something around there. So here's the problem. The attorney general there is a Democrat, of course, as though, you had to be told that. So the California state's attorney general just decided to dox thousands of people. It's got their addresses, their names, etc., what their permit's for, and it was an accident. They structured the site wrong. They've fixed it now, by the way. They totally didn't release this information under a deliberately faulty site while having other people deliberately harvest it so that they could dox these people. That never happened. It's a total goddamn conspiracy theory. I claim differently. Okay, I think we have a decision. Let's see. Oklahoma versus Castro Huerta in a 5-4 with Gorsuch dissenting, joined by Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. See, Gorsuch joining the liberals on this. Let's see what this one is. This that's not what I want. I want the PDF. Supreme Court of the United States syllabus. And I gotta zoom in because I can't see what the fuck I'm reading. Oklahoma versus Castro Huerta. In 2015, respondent Victor Manuel Castro Huerta was charged by the state of Oklahoma for child neglect. Castro Huerta was convicted in state court and sentenced to 35 years of imprisonment. While Castro Huerta's state court appeal was pending, the court decided McGirt versus Oklahoma. There, the court held that the Creek Nation's reservation in eastern Oklahoma had never been properly disestablished and therefore remained Indian country. Oh, so it's one of those cases where people who claim to be native, I guess they want deferential treatment. So I guess that's in favor of the prosecution of individuals and a denigration of the ability of people to simply claim that because of their race and ethnicity that they have some special treatment under the law. Good. Sounds good. Gorsuch, by the way, I think this is the second or third opinion so far where Gorsuch has actually sided with the liberals in wanting to recognize tribal sovereignty. I know there was another case not that long ago, and I think there was one some time ago as well from the last docket that he was part of. Gorsuch's an interesting character. He's more like Breyer than anything else. Interesting. Very interesting. So we'll wait for next decision. Gorsuch in dissent. Where this court once stood firm, today it wills. Yeah, Castro Huerta argued that only the federal government has the power to prosecute someone who is not a Native American for crimes against Native Americans in Indian country. Also interesting. What we should do is do away with the reservation system. There shouldn't be tribal authorities. It's one nation, whether under God or not is debatable, I suppose, at any given time. But do we really need to have reservations? Just pay these people a stipend. The reservation is a certain size. Divide the number of acres by the number of people and fucking pay them. Give them millions of bucks and then dissolve the reservation. We end this problem forever. There's your reparations, and it would actually be proper. Mugwump666, Biden will resign by Thanksgiving, and Hillary will be VP by New Year's. Disagreed. I don't think that'll happen. David Gray, Q&A stream with Liz. We did something like that before. Not a banned account. Will U.S. economy cause an interstate boogaloo? No, it won't. There won't be any civil war, boogaloos, and horse shit like that. There will be, however, suffering. Crazy Loon just found out there is a basketball court on the 5th floor of the Supreme Court. They even call it the highest court in the land. I don't know whether that's a joke or whether it's true, but, considering the pork barrel politics of D.C., I'm going to lean towards I believe you're probably telling the truth. That's a sad part. You imagine Clarence Thomas dunking on Kagan or something. Lee sent $9.99. No comment, thank you. Doc, I have nothing to add or contribute to this time, so I hope you get some mad sloppy toppy sticks, you beautiful bastard. Okay. Yeah, dissolve the reservations. Outlaw them completely. There's no such thing as native to the land unless you were born there specifically, and a lot more people were born there than just people who claim to be Cherokee, Sioux, or Hope, or something like that. Pete Plumley, just because you're incredibly detailed and sarcastic, bought a few of your books, including the hilarious All the Reasons for Gun Control. Yeah, that was one of my favorites because it was so low effort. I'd like to remake that with a more sophisticated cover and design. Aesthetic, hey, Sticks, I messaged you on Twitter about getting in touch with Ghost Politics. Get back to me and I'll see about getting you a chat room invite. I did get your message, so I will try to do that later. Westfield 90, All Morning TV omitted the new January 6th alternate news and leading with bombshell and explosive testimony by White House staffer. Frustrating. Yeah, but I mean, it's not exactly, are you surprised? Yeah, another line from the Gorsuch dissent. Where our predecessors refused to participate in one state's unlawful power grab at the expense of the Cherokee, today's court accedes to another. I guess Gorsuch believes that it's a modern-day Trail of Tears that a person can be prosecuted by the government. Oh, God. On the far end of the Trail of Tears was a promise. He didn't talk about synchronicity. I have never been so shocked and known exactly what happened as much from a first line. McGirt. Yeah, it is interesting. They're pointing it out here, too. Gorsuch is like, he's an extremist when it comes to tribal sovereignty. He's really into this shit. He keeps siding with the liberal justice on this. He might be like my grandpa. Like, he watched too many Westerns and he has the noble savage mythology in mind. We must save them. We must preserve this part of American history. That's pretty funny. Not a banned account. Is it true that abortions have satanic rituals? No. Abortion is, to my knowledge, not part of any satanic ritual. If you're talking about child sacrifice, there are other groups that are responsible for that. It's not the Church of Satan or anything. The Prophet. First time catching the stream. Been a subscriber for years now. Here's some diaper money for the baby. Have an awesome day, Sticks. More awesome when I get diaper money, I will admit. Eric McMullen, I'm happy to report I'm finally leaving Colorado and moving back to New Hampshire. I'll be sure to binge your content during the drive. Yeah, I'm going to New Hampshire maybe in the future, just to be clear. Lots and lots of guns. Cosmic Surgeon, please tell me about the blue lighting gun flag. The blue lighting gun. I don't know what you mean. I apologize. Steve Watt sent $100, by the way. Thank you very much. I'm pro-life and you're pro-choice. I also agree with you that the Nancy nudge was nothing more than a toothless wino mildly bumping a kid out of the way for a photo opportunity. Love you, Sticks. XXX. Yeah, that was the Nancy nudge more than the Pelosi push or the socialist shove, actually. I don't see the outrage. There's so many terrible things Pelosi's done. And, going like this to a kid. Come on, Myra Flores. You're better than that. Professor Enoch 095, waiting for the day you'll be live on the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. Also, if Orange Man TM won 2024 again, can he run for a third term? No, he would have served 2 terms. That is the limit. Yes, the term consecutive comes up. That does not matter in the context. It would become a constitutional issue if he tried, and he'll be as old as Biden is by then. He won't bother. He won't run a third time. Well, technically a fourth time, I suppose, if you count wink, wink, the honk honking in 2020. Sebastian Monroe, the executive director for the National Butterfly Center, Marian Wright committed multiple felonies and flaunted it on Twitter. I notified the Texas AG. Yes, I saw that. She stole a weapon from the back of a vehicle. It happened to be an actual military weapon, improperly storing it instead of doing what she should have done, which is just contact authorities and say, hey, there's a vehicle here, there's a gun in the back, and it appears to have potentially been abandoned. You should look into it. No, she decided to take it herself. In a perfect world, she would be prosecuted for that. She was in possession of a weapon that is illegal for civilians, an actual assault rifle, by the way. Okay, we have the next opinion, Taurus versus Texas Department of Public Safety, and it is by Justice Breyer in a 5-4. We'll see exactly what it is. Which one was this one? Not the EPA decision yet, so that'll probably be the last one they come through with. Certiorari to the Court of Appeals of Texas, 13th District. Let's see. Let me read through this briefly. Taurus enlisted in the Army Reserves, was called to active duty and deployed to Iraq, and was exposed to burn pits. Oh, toxic burn pits. Let's see. So a veteran exposed to toxic waste. Yeah, that's a huge opinion. I'm going to wait until there's some summation on here, actually. The question before the court in Taurus is whether states can invoke sovereign immunity as a defense to block lawsuits by returning veterans who want to reclaim their prior jobs with state employers. A federal statute authorizes lawsuits if employers do not accommodate the returning veterans. The answer is that states cannot invoke sovereign immunity. Okay, so actually I don't believe... I don't think we are getting EPA today. By the way, to all of the people watching here, Jesus, a shit ton of them. Yeah, we're at almost 13 Biden loser units. Just a sec here. Let me get my ass in order. Rumble still has to fix their chat thing, by the way. We have a Rumble chat by Heraclius 610. Occult video request. From my understanding, Christianity sees at least some inherent value in every human life because Christ died for us all. What about other religions? Islam, Jews, Hindu, etc. Oh, the Buddhists would, definitely. Hindus, to an extent, would believe the same thing. In the general occult sense, every life has potential value. It's a matter of what you do with that life, I suppose. I think, I don't know that we're getting any other decisions. Let me, yeah, they're the experts. They can fucking figure it out. We've got other things here to talk about. Lee, do you think Democrats will introduce another pandemic as they get closer to losing power in November? They tried with monkeypox and it didn't work, so they might default to more COVID shenanigans, but I think it's passé at this point. I think they're getting very worried indeed. Hung Donga Cleese, why was the landscaper bored? He didn't have too much going on. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Yeah, dad jokes are my job, dude. Leave it to the professionals. Oh, maybe you got a kid, so yeah, you get a pass. Not a bad account. Stick, sex, and hammer. When body pillows for sale. Yeah, people also want plushies and lawn gnomes. I've thought of doing these things just as a joke. Some limited edition sticks lawn gnomes would be funny. Make it gollywog style so it pisses off leftoids. Cosmic Surgeon. Sorry, blue lighting gun flag on your right. Oh, this is the Minuteman flag from Fallout. This is a sword. And yeah, it's my military attachment. Let's see. Yeah, it's a Fallout flag. The English loyalist Navajo here. Reservations need to be ended. It was a poverty hellhole then. It still is now. One person said reservations are an example of socialism. Yes, they absolutely are. Basically, what happens is you give welfare breadcrumbs to the peons, and then the casino owners and then the business magnates, they make bank. It's a really good way to take shitty land that's not useful for any pragmatic purpose other than squatting on and make it really successful by putting a casino there. Control, order, balance. Where should I start if I want to learn magic? Study The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish, The Book of Ceremonial Magic by A.E. Waite, and Occultism for Beginners by William Dower. If you study those 3 books, it's a good primer. I've also written a number of compilations on alchemy, black magic, folk medicine, etc. You can peruse those at your leisure on the Tarl Warwick's Books blog. Many of them, I think I've got 9 editions or 7 at this point. Not 100% sure. I've got a couple more to write actually at the moment. Steve Watt, sorry for the typos tonight. Lol. That's all good. I think, are we getting any more decisions? I'd have no clue. They're not talking about it in the chat. Thomas Conservative. Hey, well, hay is for horses, better for cows. Pigs would eat it, but they don't know how. 3383279502888, and he sent 30 of some currency. I have no clue what it is. I was threatened in the street yesterday and was lucky to escape before he beat me up. I wish guns were legal in my country. Not sure what country that is, actually, though. Yeah, you can probably get one on the black market. Crazy Loon, someone mod Styx into Fallout 4. I do have someone that wants me to do a voiceover for a character in a New Vegas mod, actually. But yeah, it'd be fun to be modded into Fallout 4. Then I could play with the mod that I voiced or appeared in or something. If someone did that, that'd be funny. You could put Clankdom into Fallout 4. You could have a settlement that's, got the Ouroboros flag or the Minuteman flag. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to be a named Minuteman. Sparky, fun fact, although used in a negative way in the Declaration of Independence, the word savages held no negative connotations in and of itself back then. Yes, that is true. Neither did barbarian. The world was arranged, according to the people at the time, into savage nations, which simply meant technologically backwards, that is less organized. Barbarian nations, there's more organization there, but it's not modern. Civilized nations, and then advanced nations, or enlightened nations. The enlightened ones, of course, were the conquerors, the British, the French, later on the Americans, and so forth. The Russians never got to that stage, according to these people. They stayed in the civilized or semi-civilized status, according to the founders. Not a banned account. Will the United States have 22 midterm elections? Well, yeah, they're coming up in a few months, and it's going to be one for the ages, and I can't wait to live stream with a co-host, TBA, that many people have talked about me wanting to talk to. Aquafan, every 10 minutes. Next will be 10:20 Eastern, 10:30 Eastern, etc. Yes, but somebody noticed that they had our numbers. And when that happens, I think that means the end of the opinions for the day. So those might be the only ones. I'm not sure that we're going to get another. I'll stay live for a couple of minutes here. It'd be funny if EPA was the last one. It's possible. We'll see. Not exactly sure. Anyway, because this is going to go a little bit longer, probably, I think I'll use the bathroom really quickly. So I'm going to mute and stop the camera. Don't go anywhere, everyone. Give me 5 minutes or something like that, or less. Also, yeah, I'm almost out of caffeine, sadly. I need to rectify the situation. So yeah, just give me a minute, and they might come out with another decision. I'm not 100% sure, though, that there will be any. So I'll make sure this freezes here. And BRB, everyone. All right, I am back here. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that there are no more decisions today. So we'll get through the last of the super chats here. Got several of them. And on Rumble as well. Writer of the Metal Horse, you've said in a past video that the Abrahamic religions are Marxist. What are the key similarities that you see? I've changed my opinion somewhat on this. You can interpret what Jesus said, for example, in the Bible, as being almost rugged separatist individualism, or you can look at it as being collectivist in nature, but not at the state level. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, but it can be looked at that way. If you look at the actions of Jesus in his life, assuming that you believe in the story of Jesus, there is a collectivism. He gets together with a bunch of other people. They're organizing effectively private charities and so forth. They're not attempting to use a state system to impose their will. They're kind of semi-separatist. So it could be construed as fundamentally Marxist in form. Thomas Conservative. The Supreme Court has been destroying liberals like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator. Expect liberal tears today. Yeah, but there were no major decisions today. That's the problem. I was hoping for the EPA decision. Apparently, they're going to do another one Friday, which means more work. Great. You know, occasionally I do need a day off from streaming, SCOTUS, just to be clear. Can't you think of the content creators? It's Spectre sent $4.99. No comment, thank you. Journey, Trials, and Joy. Please don't send any more super chats, by the way. We're going up on an hour, and we don't have the EPA decision, which means we'll get it Friday, I believe. Journey, Trials, and Joy. In what world can a person take a stand and say, I heard something, someone else told me, and the news media runs with it as truth? No faith in the system. Yeah, that's the January 6th shenanigans in a nutshell. It's full of horse shit. David Lara, I think the Dems and Rhinos have a burn it all down strat, or have they played their hand out with COVID, January 6th, and abortions? I don't think that they have anything left. I don't think they have any arrows in their quiver. They were handed Roe and guns, technically, on a golden platter. And they chose to do what Democrats tend to do, which is overstretch, underdeliver, and alienate a bunch of people. It's Spectre. Biden now below 38% per RCP. Lol. LMAO even. Oh, did they update it? Now, let me check. Yeah, we'll check the polls really quickly. Latest polls. Biden job approval and the congressional ballot as well. Oh, we've got an Economist poll. Good, good, good. Yeah, the Economist, +5 for the Republicans. Politico +3 for the Dems. NPR, PBS +7 for the Dems. Those are all post-Roe. So that's no change, I believe. What was Politico before? It's +3 now. The last one was a tie, so that's a small shift. And, of course, it's within the margin of error. NPR, the Marist poll was within the margin. YouGov, what did they have them at before with YouGov? +4. So actually, that's a +1 increase for the Republicans. I think it's safe to say with those polls, there has been no significant change post-Roe in the congressional ballot. I mean, it might change by a point or something, but it doesn't really make any difference now, does it? Ooh, Biden. Oh, my God, boy. Jesus Christ. Biden now has a gap approaching 20 points. He is now officially at his lowest approval, 37.9, and highest disapproval of 57.5. As I said weeks ago, technically back at the beginning of June, he has now cracked through his soft floor and ceiling, which is terrible news for him, and it's terrible news for the Democrats. That's really going to hurt. Just wait till we get the next inflation numbers, especially if we get stagflation, joblessness increases, and or an announcement of a recession. Boy, oh boy, that's I'm honestly impressed at his ability to fuck up. Obama warned me of this. Dofally Mofally Sticks, did you see that California leaked all the names and addresses of CCW permit holders in the state? Yes, I already covered that. That's major news. I don't think that was by accident, by the way. Aquafam, They just updated the calendar. Opinion Day tomorrow. Oh, they're going to do it Thursday. Oh, how wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Thursday is a new opinion day for absolutely no reason. Lazy assholes. Kyle Miller, Joe just went below 38% in the RCP. Yes, I'm seeing that. Boy, Jesus Christ. His disapproval is approaching 60%. I didn't expect this actually to happen. I expected that the soft floor and ceiling generally would hold. My thought was that if someone cared about the economy, right? Economy sucks, there's inflation, etc. But they still approved of Biden. You know, what other impetus is there to disapprove of him? But apparently people are finding a reason. This is the old average, the disapproval average, the old one was about 53. Now it's climbed to almost 58. That's, I think, about 10 million voters or thereabouts. Yeah. Adarius Mist Dancer. Won't they just cheat their way through the midterms the same way they installed the least popular president? No, I don't think that they can make that argument anymore. If you look at what happened with Boebert, what's happening right now is the Democrats are overstretching, under-promising, and fucking around with January 6th and stuff, and they're not actually doing anything. This is why Lauren Boebert won her race with more than 10 points additional support than she was expected, even in the polls. She was ahead, but it was a mild sort of ahead, maybe better than the last time she ran, but it wasn't a huge difference. She got 65% almost, and more votes than the top three Democrats in their primary. She's going to coast to re-election. If this is a bellwether of what happens in the midterms, and if we take seriously any part of the Biden polling, the Democrats are really going to get crushed. This will be, I think, arguably the single worst midterm showing for a party. I think we're getting to the point, looking at all the indicators that I can see, where we could see a 50-seat swing. It wouldn't be a red wave. It would be a goddamn bloodbath. I support that. I think it'd be good to punish the Democrats, and hopefully they reorganize their party and stop screwing around and say, hey, you know, maybe the American people haven't rejected us because they're deplorable and evil and terrible. Maybe it's because of us. Maybe we're the problem. And then maybe they can purge the goddamn leftoids from their party, or just admit that you're a socialist party now and run on that and see what happens. It doesn't matter what you do. Do something different, because what you're doing now isn't working. This is hilarious. So we don't get an EPA decision, but we get live new polling results. And this is you, this fucking YouGov is showing him a -17. Politico, -19. Politico is not a right-wing polling outlet. This is Politico. They lean to the left. They love the Democrats. I'm wondering, are there any on here? Okay, we can ignore the Reuters poll. That actually shows them with a larger gap at -22. We'll ignore that one because it's a poll of adults. Even then, it would be 19.3 or 4 or something like that. Jesus. And by the way, what was Trump at? I'm going to check. Let's fact check this. We're live fact checking before we go off. Yeah, please no more super chats though, because I do have to do other things. But this is important. Where's Trump job approval? What was Trump's job approval at exactly the same date? I guarantee it was a lot better than this. I know that. So we're on, okay, what point would that be? So July 29th. What was it around July 29th of the same point? Yeah, Trump was at 53% disapproval and his approval was at 43. So Biden is, the gap is 7 points worse at this point in his presidency. And it's funny because the legacy media, they always use the, they don't use RCP for some reason, even though it's more accurate. They use Nate Silver's projection still. And even then, I know that he's been reporting on the same thing and saying, look, Biden's having a real tough time here. You've got technically you have 5 points less approval, several points more disapproval. Technically, that would actually be a 10-point increase on the gap, I suppose. Let me do a little calculation here. Okay. I'd have to zoom in to get the exact date, but it was static for a while there. 53.43. Yeah, that's a 10-point deficit on Trump. 10 fucking points. It's a lot of voters. That's most of the independent voters in the country, by the way, at this point. I'm thinking that there's a reason the Republicans are sweeping it with regards to these special elections and primaries. God, his approval his disapproval is approaching 60%. Now, of course, it could improve, but I'm thinking of this because this is in the wake of Roe and these other decisions. I'm thinking about what could actually be done because I'm strategically minded. What could actually be done by Biden and or the Democrats to improve the situation, short of the economy, which can't account for all of this loss because, of course, again, if somebody still approved of Biden a month ago when the economy was already on the skids, why would they suddenly disapprove of him now? There's got to be some other impetus. Can anyone brainstorm a reason why Biden would be losing 3 points of approval in that period of time, despite the economy basically being stagnant and the same? Is it shortages? Is it people are filling up more because they're going to go visit family and they finally realize how bad the gas prices are? Maybe it's Ukraine. You know, there was news that the Ukrainians are now suffering a series of tactical defeats. Is it his dementia? Because I think that if you disapproved of him for that, you probably disapproved of him many moons ago. I can't even understand 100% what I'm seeing here in the data. I'm almost flummoxed. I'm almost awestruck at his failure. Jesus. And it's a steep incline, too. This is almost as steep as an incline as from Afghanistan. You'll remember back then. How much disapproval did he gain from that? It's 43.7. That would be about 5 points. And this would be about 3.5 already, and there's still another week to go before that same period would elapse. If it keeps going in that direction, this would be his third largest drop in approval, by the way, which I think would probably put it at least close to the top 10, which means Biden would have suffered the top 3 losses in approval and rises in disapproval of any president in polling history in the course of 2 years. Yeah. I'm loving it. I am McLovin' it because I told you so. And I'm preaching to the choir. I know that all of you understand that Biden sucks dick too, but literally and figuratively, just like a hunter. But there are a lot of people out there that don't understand that. Jesus. You're seeing me surprised for perhaps the first time. I don't know how he accomplished that. I'm looking through the chats. I'm trying to figure out if somebody else has any ideas on how actually he lost so much approval in a short period of time. Again, the economy sucks, but it hasn't gotten demonstrably worse over the last few weeks. It's been stagnant. Inflation is ticking up. I mean, the prices are rising, but if somebody had a problem with that, generally speaking, they already had a problem months ago. The war hasn't been going well from day one, technically even involved in it. This is weird. Vampire Hunter D on Twitch says, it's not failure, it's sabotage of the United States. Yeah, but the thing is, the situation hasn't changed that much. Overall, things remain the same for the last couple of months. The inflation's high, the gas prices are high, Biden's incoherent, there's a war going on. What's changed? I don't even know. He's failing so bad, he's managing to confuse somebody who is a bitter critic of him. And all the leftoids out there, they're going to be, they won't talk about the new polling. I thought that Roe v. Wade was supposed to save the Dems in the midterms and shit. They won't talk about the generic congressional ballot. I saw them crowing the other day over the Marist poll, and I had to correct them and say, hey, you do realize that the Democrats were at +5. So +7 is a 2-point shift well within the static of statistics, which means it's nothing really. And of course, that would be incommensurate with Biden here. The tendency is that the president drags up or down everyone down ballot according to the party when they're there. So if Biden is at this point, legendarily low levels of approval, and he was at them anyway at his old floor, he was already beyond Trump by several points. If he has a 10-point additional gap, I can't imagine any scenario in the midterms in which the Republicans don't absolutely swamp the Democrats. Mahaviz, Bobert actually denounced separation of church and state. She should lose all credibility for that as a congressperson. I do disagree with her religious views. I don't think that Jefferson just wrote a letter when it came to the non-establishment of religion, although it's definitely got some interpretation qualities. I happen to disagree with her, but she's rabidly pro-gun, and she's MAGA, and I can deal with the fact, I can deal with the religious zealotry side, just the same as neocons can deal with Pence being a goddamn a farce when it comes to religion. I don't care about that because it's not informing her policies, generally speaking. Fun one, too. Trump talked about it. Joe did it. Tara Reid. Yeah, Tara Reid, interesting. Hang Solo. Style need a wizard beard. Yeah, when I get older, if I start going bald, which so far so good, or something like that, I'm going to grow out a big-ass Gandalf beard. Then maybe I'll shave my head bald and I'll look like a berserker. There are several looks for men over 40. Bald with a big beard, long hair with a little beard like this, or just clean shaven and you start looking retarded. Josh Eternal. How many red states will remain pro-choice in your opinion? There's far more pro-choice conservatives than people think. I think it'll be about half and half. I'd say 30 states will retain some access to abortion, which means the average woman is going to be able to get an abortion. It's not going to save the babies or any of this fucking horse shit. It's not going to happen. In other states, if people are very poor, especially if you have to get parental consent, which is really weird, actually. You know, some 15-year-old gets knocked up by her boyfriend and then has to beg her daddy for approval. It's just weird to me. It's kind of molesty, in my opinion. But they'll generally be able to get abortions. Otherwise, in other news, I'm thinking of growing nothing but cohosh and pennyroyal in my garden in Rutland. I have a feeling the price will increase significantly over the coming years. FGPT, here we go with the pro-choice BS. You mean pro-murder. Consult the Bible and see when it says life begins. When is the breath of life breathed into the fetus? Is it conception or the quickening? I'm tired of Dejuice Main. Sticks, you're 40? No, I'm 33. Or 34, actually. I'm old enough so that I've forgotten my age. No, I'm not 40 yet. But I mean, when you are 40, and then you tend to have receding hairline, hair loss, thinning. I don't seem to have these problems. I've always had a high hairline, by the way. There's some gray hair in there. And I'll tell you one thing. This is what pisses me off. With most men, most of the gray hair comes in on the sides here, and you get sort of the Mitt Romney look when you're in your 40s or 50s. And I have no problem with that. If my hair turns shot gray, I'm just going to look like a wizard, and I really don't give a shit. I'm going to keep it long and proud, and I can put it up in a ponytail with a bandana, and then I'll look like a biker or something. My problem is that I get sporadic hairs on top that are also gray, and I fucking hate them. I wish that I could burn all of my hair off when I see them in the camera and they distract me. I don't mind having gray hair, but can you do it in an orderly fashion? Please. That's all I'm asking. Maybe I'll just dye my hair platinum or something. Josh Eternal, I'm asking about red states specifically. Of the red states, I think that a significant proportion will retain abortion for rape, incest, woman's life in danger, which is the base minimum that is, in my opinion, morally acceptable. I think that you'll have a lot of them have 8 or 12-week bans, which again is in line with much of the developed world. It's not exactly an extreme position. Some will ban it. South Dakota has effectively banned it, even in the case where a woman's going to die if she doesn't have one. Some states will attempt to prevent women from leaving the state to achieve one. This is unconstitutional. The state does not have the ability to prosecute someone who goes to another state and does something that in another state is totally legal. It's like if I travel to Colorado and I take psilocybin. It would be illegal in Vermont to take psilocybin. The state of Vermont cannot prosecute me for taking it in Denver. it'll be the same thing. And the courts will, I believe, affirm that. Zero Fan Mab on Twitch. Sticks, I'm convinced that dealers of illegal drugs will add abortion pills to their inventory happily. They'd have a lot of competition from herbalists like me who can prescribe a very, very nice tea that will cause an abortion 9/10 of the time upon drinking a couple of cups of it, as long as it's in the first weeks. Women used to just drink it as a prophylactic against abortion. It's even marketed today as a stimulating period to keep your period regular, basically. It's the same fucking shit as the pills that they give people for abortion. They used to be used prophylactically. They can have side effects, but they're generally not massively severe. All you need is pennyroyal and cohosh. That's all you need. If you can't get that, of course, coat hangers are very cheap. You just bought a shirt from the Salvation Army and put a little rubbing alcohol on it first, probably, so you don't get sepsis, or at least you hope not. You're going to get a lot of those cases in some of these states, especially among younger people with religious parents and stuff, and I feel very bad for them. I don't think that it's ethical. Can you imagine telling your 14-year-old daughter, well, I'm sorry, I don't believe in abortion, so fuck you. Don't worry. We'll very, very awkwardly, by the way, we'll raise it as though it was ours or something. That's just creepy, dude. I'm sorry, but I can't stand with the right wing on the hard line of abortion. I can understand banning like the Northam shit, like partial birth abortion, third trimester. I hope that abortion is not being used as contraception generally, and thankfully it's not. But in the first 8 weeks, abortion isn't even a surgical procedure. It's a chemical that you take. It's a pill. It's just the more standardized version of herbs that are available literally on eBay. Pennyroyal tea, by the way, good for other stomach complaints anyway. People drink it all the time. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in fucking prosecuting some 13-year-old for getting knocked up by her uncle or by her boyfriend because she made a mistake because she's fucking young and dumb. And I don't want the child born either if it's not wanted, because then the taxpayers have to pay for it. It makes no sense. I've got my opinions. Other people have theirs. Mama Babs, where did you hear that BS? I've studied the issue in depth, the history of abortion and many other things. I'm a skilled herbalist. I know about the history of abortifacient usage going back 500 years. It's common. It's unescapable. The abortions will happen. It's just they will be less safe in some of those states. I don't have any problem with the states being devolved this power. I just wish they would use it more responsibly and more pragmatically. Just because it's a state instead of the federal government or SCOTUS making a decision doesn't mean that it's wise. Yes, Surf Illustrated, I am a very skilled herbalist. I even wrote a book on the topic. I was also a psychonaut. I know a great deal about herbal medicine, considering that I've edited and released about 30 volumes on the topic. I've got a couple more, by the way, actually right now that are in the docket. Michael Baroque, what? No Sabaton? So no, I do not believe in completely outlawing abortion, just to be clear. I think the cat is singing out there. Her mind was aborted long ago. I think she has mild brain damage or something. She's not exactly normal. FGPT, it is being used as birth control, mainly in the US. Check the stats. False. Birth control is generally not used as a form of birth control. The fact that it is elective does not mean that it was planned, just so that we're aware about our lies, damn lies, and statistics. Seth comes ripping. Hey, Sticks, hunting in Vermont with a suppressor becomes legal July 1st. NFA should be abolished, but small win for Vermont clankers. Yes, indeed. Hunters will no longer have to go deaf before they're 50 in order to go hunt deer. I strongly support this. I've thought about hunting or something like that, but I don't know. I know that it's hypocritical because I eat meat and shit. But, you know, actually killing the animal, actually killing Bambi, I don't know that I'd be into that. If it gets into my garden, though, if I see a deer in the garden, I'll blow its fucking head off. And it doesn't really matter to me. I've killed groundhogs, skunks, moles. One time, it was an epic day. There were moles in the old compost pile. It had been disused for a while, so it was beginning to become anaerobic. It built a nest in there. And I started scooping it out, and there were baby moles in there. I killed them, obviously. And it's kind of sad, but bear with me. And then the parent moles came back about an hour later. And of course, the compost pile is gone. They can smell that their babies have been around, but they couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. And I had a pitchfork with me. And just on a whim, I threw the pitchfork at one of them like a goddamn trident and speared it right to the ground. I stomped its head in and then killed its mate. And I didn't really feel that much sympathy because moles are crazy. They smell terrible. They rip up your garden. They're not pleasant creatures. So I've stopped doing stuff like that because it's like I still feel sorry for it a little bit, but unless you're going to eat it, if you're hungry or something. But yeah, and that was like a 15-foot throw too. I threw it like from here to the wall. I took the pitchfork and I just hurled it, speared it right to the ground, right about at the neck. I couldn't replicate that shot if you paid me. I'd rather just shoot him because, you're not going to shoot a mole, but you get the idea. Maybe with a bird shot, I suppose. Probably blow him up. But anyway, yes, we will go offline now. Had a good time here talking about complete insanity. You are a psychopath, dude, says DS Trope. Yeah. Well, what happens to the meat that you eat that's in your burger or whatever? It didn't exactly live a nice life. At least the moles got to live in nature according to nature before they were slaughtered. Killed 6 of them. Killed 5 more in different time. They were in a tree stump, I think, by the back of the garden. Killed a groundhog, flooded it out, and then smashed it over the head with a sword, actually. It's interesting. But yeah, enough about killing animals, because it's not the greatest subject. I will go offline now, because we've been going for almost an hour and a half. And lots of polling, lots of news, but no EPA decision. And now they're saying they're going to do it tomorrow. I had expected it on Friday. Thanks, SCOTUS. Oh, we've got one more here. Hi, kitty. Yeah, you singing? Okay, now she's ignoring me to go to her food bowl. A tax collector, conservative evangelical Christian here. Love your content. How would you compare Christians now from 20 years ago in the Bush era? Would you say we've become more libertarian? Yeah, I'd say that definitely. I don't like organized religion, but Christians at large have definitely become less inhospitable towards people of other religious beliefs and more hospitable towards the idea of, hey, if we're going to have like a civic thing going on at all, a United States, we got to let people do their own thing within certain boundaries that they impose. And I disagree with some of them, agree with others. It's definitely gotten less inhospitable. Meanwhile, the liberals have done exactly the opposite. A bunch of people that I would have had camaraderie with 15 years ago, a bunch of like Dawkins worshipers, and we'd be laughing about religion and Bill Nye and shit. They've become goddamn insane. They've completely lost it. They're in favor of censorship and then corporate fascism and all these other crazy things. Biden's RCP average fell again by Skorinsky. If it fell again while I was live here, I'll have to look into that later. But we've already covered his monumental failure, for which I'm absolutely confused. I'm genuinely confused about this because I'm trying to figure out exactly how it's happening. He's failed more than I expected for repeated times. This is the biggest one yet. I'm going to look into it further, and I'm going to try to figure out exactly what explains the numbers, actually. Anyway, that's about all. Peace out.